Welcome to the Coalition. I'm your host, Alex.
I'm your host, Jacob.
So, how do we begin this video?
Well, I guess let's start with why we started. So,
Hey, do you want to start?
Okay.
You can start if you want.
We want to start a podcast that is like the Command Zone, EDH Rec... I don't know, how do you say that?
EDH Recast.
I didn't
It's
know
the
that.
people that made, I'm sure they know. But, like, it's EDH Recast. It's the people that made EDH Rec, and it's their
Okay.
YouTube channel.
Okay. So, we're aiming to do podcast videos talking about the game and other aspects, and eventually we'd like to do some gameplay videos and other analysis
Whether
type
that be,
things.
like, 4-player, 2-player. Hopefully we get to do
For Commander.
videos. Commander, yeah. We're
For Magic the
probably-
Gathering.
Yeah, for Magic the Gathering, right, yes.
To clarify.
So we're probably going to do, like, we might do, like, deck techs. We'll do different podcasts on different stuff. Like, I'm sure at some point we'll do band cards. We'll do stuff like, we'll do set overviews. We'll crack packs and stuff, I'm sure, at some point. I'm not sure how we'll record that, but it'll be, like, it'll be a little different, probably.
Yeah. We have a few series ideas.
Yeah. And so the reason why we started the podcast, like, mainly is because we thought it would be fun to just, like, talk about Magic and
Mostly just for
record
fun.
videos and stuff. If we get to the point where we can do it, like, a lot, it'd be nice.
We'll
But,
see where the road takes us.
yeah, we'll see where it goes. We named, so Coalition Clash, or that's the name of the thing we're going to do. But the Commander's Coalition, the reason why we chose that name is because of the card Coalition Victory. And if you want to bring it up. So Coalition Victory says it's 3 colorless, 3 generic, and one of each color. And it's a sorcery, and it says you win the game if you control a land of each basic land type and a creature of each color. And it's banned in Commander, if you guys didn't know.
Probably an important thing to
Important thing to say. That's the main reason why we have it as our channel name is because it's banned, and
It's kind of fun.
we don't think it should be banned. It's a card that's like it's good. It's 8 mana, which is a lot, and it's a sorcery, so you can't instant speed it. You can't do it on other people's turns, and you have to have it land of each basic land type, which has gotten easier over the years.
Yes,
with
thanks to the Triomes.
Triomes and Shocklands. Mainly the Triomes, though. Triomes is just... Well, if you guys don't know what one of the Triomes is, there's 5 of them, and each one taps for one of 3 colors. There's the Savai Triomes, black, white, red, Katria Triomes, green, red, blue, but there's a whole bunch of different ones that... It's a whole cycle. It's 5, but there's only 5. It's... I'm not sure what they call them. It wouldn't be like enemy, but it would be like... I don't know. But they're missing some 3-color combination. So,
But they do have the basic land types.
Yeah, they have the basic land types, which is the main reason. So if you play one, it enters tapped, and it also has cycling. It's 3 colorless, and it has cycling. Each one has cycling, and they enter the battlefield tapped, but they can tap for the colors is not the main part, but because it has the basic land types, you play 2 Triomes basically of any type. It turns on Coalition Victory for the land part of that. For the creature of each color, if you have a 5-color creature, it gets there. If it's if you have like 5, any combination. If you have a 2-color creature and then 3 mono-color creatures, it's the same thing. So the reason why we called it Coalition Victory or Commander's Coalition is because of Coalition Victory, and mainly we think it should be unbanned. I don't think it should be banned. Do you have any reason why it shouldn't be or it should be banned?
It's too slow.
It's 8 mana, and it has gotten easier though over the years to get faster mana, but it's one of each color, so that's a pretty steep price, and it's a sorcery, which means if somehow you get that requirement on someone else's turn, you can't just like flat, or you can't just instant it in. Not that you probably would, but you could if that came up. So what are some other things we could talk about for the channel? Just like,
I don't know. I think we've covered most of it.
I think some other things we could talk about is like there's over time we're going to do more and more different videos. Like I said before, deck techs. We'll do spoiler season at some point. I'm sure probably for the next set we will.
Probably.
Kamigawa Neon Dynasty just came out a couple days ago. I believe it was on Friday of, not yesterday, but the week before. I believe Friday is when it came out. But so we're gonna do spoiler season. I'm sure we'll do like when leaks come out, big leaks. We might do secret layers.
Talk about it, yeah.
Yeah, we'll just talk about cards, right? Every time something gets banned or unbanned, well, I'm sure we'll do a video on that. So for putting out videos, I think we're planning on every Friday, right?
Once a week, yep.
Like once a week, every Friday, we'll post a video, and we should be able to do that at some point. Hopefully, we can do more.
That'd be nice.
But I think a good start is once a week, or maybe like once every other week, but we'll probably do once a week. Just because the videos, a 30-minute, 1 hour long video every week, that's not that much content. But then again, it takes quite a bit to
get a video
together.
So do you want to talk about
your start? We're going to talk about how we started and what our history was. So we both started in 7th grade.
Yep.
In middle school.
This was about when Kaladesh came out.
Yeah, specifically it was Kaladesh had just come out, I believe, and Eldritch Moon was just like that was the set before. And we started you were in there was a game club.
Game club at the middle school.
At the middle school, yeah. There was a whole bunch of people in it. I didn't go to it at first. You did, I believe.
I did.
You went there. And the game club was just you play. Did you ever do a draft that year?
We did do a draft that first year.
What set was that for?
That was from, I think, Amonkhet, and I think we had a couple of conspiracy packs mixed in there.
Okay. So I didn't do that draft because I wasn't in game club, but so he did that, and
so I took the deck that we had got, because we got these intro decks from the teacher, and then we split it in half because it had two half parts to it. So then I gave him one, and then I took one, and then until we both got our own decks, we would use that.
Was that the 2016 welcome deck?
I think so, yeah.
So, because I don't, do they still do them? I'm not sure. But if they do, then I guess some of you may know what it is. But it's basically, there's like half a deck, half a 60 card, not Commander. This is we haven't played Commander yet, just to be clear. But we he got each person that went in the game club got a free welcome deck, two of them, right?
Yeah, Wizards had sent the teacher a whole box of the welcome decks, and they got to pick 2 colors.
And LGSs will get them too, I believe. And so basically, you could pick 2 colors, I believe, and then you put them together, and it should just be kind of like this welcome deck. It's not that powerful, but it has some cards in it. Like Soul of the Harvest was in that one. Soul of the Harvest, I mean, that's a pretty good card.
Everyone's favorite dragon, Shivan Dragon.
Yeah, Shivan Dragon. Aegis Angel? Was that one in that one?
It's pronounced Aegis Angel.
Aegis Angel? Whatever. And that one says when ATBs
something
gets indestructible as long as it's on the battlefield. So did it get errated to did it get errated to do indestructible counters, or is it still?
No,
it's still what it is before. Okay.
Because the angel still needs to be in.
That's right. Yeah, that would make more sense. So there were some other ones too. Sphinx of Magasai, was that one of them?
Yeah.
Oh god, I love that card. I played with a lot of that card.
Draw a lot of cards.
Anyway, so you got a green and red?
Yeah, I got a green and red one.
So he got a green one which had Soul of the Harvest, and a red one which had Shivan Dragon. It had a bunch of other cards in it. I'm not too familiar with the list other than those main rares that were in it. But
had 26 lands for each half deck, so it was a little land heavy.
Oh wow, really?
It did.
So it had 26 lands.
Or not 26. It had like 13 each. Wait, yeah, so 13 each. So it had 26 total.
Okay,
it was 60.
I was gonna say 26 each. Yeah. That's 52 cards. That's like the deck except for 8 cards. But
a little land heavy.
Yeah, I mean even then, in Commander we run around 34. You run a little bit more.
I run more because I can't draw lands.
And I run actually a little less usually.
Because he's lucky.
Because I'm a lucky player. But anyway, so you gave me a half and you took a half.
Usually I took the red one.
Yes. And I can't remember when I'm sure we mixed it up a bit, but I do think
I usually took the red
one. And we played in our classes when we were in school.
Yeah, we had a advisory together, so every day we'd play in there because the teacher would let us, and it was fun.
And I eventually joined the game club the next year.
And then summer. There was a summer version of it.
Was that when I started?
Yeah.
Okay. So I started there was a summer one, and then there was the in-school one. So the in-school one would be after school, goes into like 5:45. That's usually when it ends. The summer one is like from like 8 o'clock in the morning or something all the way until like
4. And 4. You could come and go as you wanted.
Yeah, you didn't have to stay there, but I did the half, right? I only did half.
Did you? Maybe.
I believe I only did. So I went from 8 to 12. That's when I stayed there, and I left at 12. And I just did that because I didn't think I'd want to be there all day. And turns out I really did want to be there all day. I'm not sure if I ever changed it, but it was awesome. We did drafts. The first draft I ever did was a mixed draft. We had Conspiracy, like you said before, and a bunch of other sets. There wasn't a main one.
I think we had leftovers from the one we did during the school year.
And then, so let's see what else. So we played half decks. So I eventually, for my birthday, we went to a game store, and it had a Chandra, I believe it's called, I wrote in the outline here. It's called the Kaladesh Planeswalker deck, and it's the Chandra one. And Terra Pyrogenius, is that on there somewhere?
No, we did not put that on
So
there.
that one, if I can look on here.
Let me just look it up real quick.
It's as a +2. You can look it up, and then we can actually get it here. It's a card I forgot to put on there. Didn't think I would talk about it. So it's 6 mana to play out, 4 generic, 2 red. It's a Planeswalker. It starts with 5 loyalty, and it has a +2, and it deals 2 damage to each opponent. So you activate it, deals 2 damage to each opponent. It has a -3. Chandra Pyrogenius deals 4 damage to target creature, so it's creature removal. And then -10, Chandra Pyrogenius deals 6 damage to target player, and each creature he or she controls goes, so it's like direct damage and then a nuke. It's not that great. 6 mana. It's not that great.
It's about $1 if you want to buy one.
Yeah, it's like $1.25, around $1.
He got a few of these.
Yeah, and I'll get to that later. But so I bought one. I also believe it came with a pack. I believe it came with some packs too, and I believe I got Amonkhet and Kaladesh, and that was around the time that it was released around that time. And I didn't pull anything noteworthy, but that was my first pack, and I played with that deck. I can't remember how good it was. I'm sure it was just like
red white.
No, I think it was. Was it just?
I think it was red white, and was it? I think. Pretty sure it was red white.
If it was red white, I'm not sure.
Yeah, because remember you had Assemble the Legion in it.
Assemble the Legion wasn't in the deck though.
No, but you eventually put it in.
Yeah. So Assemble the Legion is a card I loved back then, like back when we played, and it still kind of is a pretty fun card. It says at the beginning it's an enchantment. It's 3 generic, 1 red, 1 white, and it says at the beginning of your upkeep put a muster counter on Assembled Legion, and then it says put a 1/1 red and white soldier creature token with haste onto the battlefield for each muster counter on Assembled Legion. So basically, every turn it would get a muster counter, and then you'd create that many tokens. I didn't know anything about proliferate or any of that stuff, so I never abused any of that. It was just a fun card that I'd play on like turn 5, and then I'd get some guys, and it was at the beginning of your upkeep, so you'd play it and you wouldn't get any value that turn. So it really wasn't that great for me. But it was a really fun card.
I mean, if it got around the way our decks were, they were pretty slow, and they
were
couldn't really
pretty
remove
bad.
Anything. So
yeah, we didn't really know the power of removal back then.
So if he played it, he usually won, but he only had one of them. So
I only had one in there. And then again, this is like anything goes 60 card. It's not. Yeah. This is really not a form. Yeah, it's just tabletop like what do they call it? Kitchen table magic. Like it's just fun 60 card magic. We played whenever we played drafts. We were always in the draft together basically, and you've always been like a better player than me, mostly just because he's like a rules lawyer. He knows like a lot of the rules. So I always ask. I still ask you about rules all the time. I text you and I'm like, hey Jacob, can you tell me what does this work? Blah blah blah, and then he'll tell me. And so you knew how to draft. I was just putting cards together that I liked.
Okay, I wasn't amazing at drafts, but I was better than
everyone else in the thing. And so I think we have some friends that were in there too, and they don't really play Magic anymore, but they still kind of know the game. Yeah. But they also played in those drafts back then, and I got second a lot, and I feel like a lot of it was luck because they were probably better than me back then too, because I think they started a little bit before me. Did they? CJ? Did he start before me, or did
CJ probably didn't start before you, but he was in the club.
Yeah,
like he joined the club the week after, but you technically played a game of half decks with me before he did.
Right. Okay. So he CJ, he's one of our friends, but he played Magic, and I usually got second just because I guess I just got lucky. I don't know. And we'll get to the draft later, the draft that we played. That was awesome. It was one of my like favorite games of Magic I've ever played. It was probably a turning point for, at least for me, for Magic. But we'll get to that later. So, getting into Commander. So, I started playing Commander, or no, I didn't start playing Commander. I bought the Draconic Domination Commander Precon, and it's the Precon from 2017's the Dragon is the Commander. I'm sure everyone knows that's played Magic knows what the Dragon is, or at least Commander, because it's fairly popular. But if you don't know, it's 4 colorless and 1 of each color. It's a creature dragon avatar. It's a 10/10 with flying. Has Eminence. If you don't know what Eminence does, it triggers when it's, or it doesn't trigger, but it has that ability in the command zone or on the battlefield, both. So its Eminence ability was dragons cost 1 less to cast. So all my dragons costed 1 less to cast right away. And then it also had an ability where this only was on the battlefield. When 1 or more dragons you control attack, you draw that many cards and you put a permanent card from your hand into the battlefield. So incredibly powerful, like a really good like commander. And I think it's like top 13 on EDH Rec right now for decks overall, and it's the top dragon commander. But I bought that Commander Precon because my friend, one of our friends, Aaron, he bought it, and I saw it, and I was like, I want that. That's awesome. Those dragons look insanely powerful. So I bought that one.
You used it as a normal deck.
And I used it as a 60-card anything goes tabletop Magic deck. And I know that sounds ridiculous. Isn't there a command tower in that deck? Yes, there is a command tower in that deck.
And we just said it did nothing.
I think I just replaced it with like a basic land or something. I don't remember. But anyway, so I bought that deck for $40 Precon price for 2017, the MSRP. If anyone knows, this deck is extremely expensive now. It's over $350 right now, I believe. I'll put the price of it on the screen when I edit. At like the current market price on TCG Player, you can get it for. But yeah, no, it was probably one of the best buys ever made. It was and that started me playing. I mean, I didn't play Commander until very, very, very long afterwards. Like
a couple years.
Yeah, like at least 2. So I played it as a normal deck. It did pretty good for playing against the decks that we played against. They weren't that great.
It could snowball.
It was a dragon tribal deck.
Slow.
Dragons do dragon things, right? So that's important though. That dragon precon is very important because that segued me into playing Commander. I don't really know if that segued us, but it segued me into playing Commander.
I had a deck before this, but it was not much more than a pile of cards.
Was that the Olivia Voldaren one?
Yeah, it has pretty much just Olivia Voldaren built around ramping up and using her abilities to take control of other people's stuff.
But to be fair though, that was very annoying whenever you did when you're your Udvar Hellkite, it's a vampire now and it's mine. So that was and do you have that on your out? Is that what you're going to talk about?
No, I guess I didn't put that on. But okay, I'll talk about it when we get there.
Once we get to Jacob's history, I'm sure he'll talk about it. But anyway, so I was set on not changing the deck, like at all. Like I was not set on changing that deck literally at all. But I changed one card, and I said to myself, "This is the only card I'm gonna add to this deck." It wasn't, by the way. I'll get to that later. But it was Dragon Arch. And Dragon Arch it's a 5 colorless artifact, and it just simply says 2 colorless, tap, put a multicolored creature card from your hand into play. So in the precon, there was a lot of multicolored dragons in that deck. Intet, the Dreamer, you made a deck around him later, but there was Savage Ventmaw, I believe, was in that deck too.
Just had a bunch of dragons that would be cool to be able to cheat and play.
Exactly, and
it had the name dragon in it.
Yeah, that's true. And there's Belby's Portal, which is the same thing, but it's 3 colorless. It's instead of 2 colorless to activate the ability, and it says you have to pick a creature type when it enters the battlefield, and then you can put a creature into play that's that creature type. So it's a better card than Dragon Arch in my opinion, but I put Dragon Arch in because it was dragon themed. Next, after that, just spiraled. I was just adding cards, just left and right, and just all over the place.
The deck looks very different now.
It looks very different now. And I still have the deck, and it's my main deck that I like to play. So going away from like and then eventually I did play it as a commander deck, and then we played commander, and then we got some other people to play commander, and this was back when commander was not as big as it was now.
No.
Now it's like the most popular format, I believe. Now it's actually the most popular format, and back then it was popular, but it wasn't as popular as now.
One thing with his deck, what would happen is it pretty much got in a mood where it would just keep casting Ur-Dragon every turn because it just ramped, it did nothing else.
And it's so crazy how that deck has evolved, because now you almost never see the Ur-Dragon come out unless it's late in the game. You almost never see it come out just because its Eminence ability is so powerful. So some other things I want to get in touch on before I give it to Jacob to talk about his history is... So, my first, or I guess not my first, but I opened a pack that my parents gave me for Valentine's Day. They gave me the Nicol Bolas Precon deck, and it had a Amonkhet, or I think it was Our Devastation. It had Our Devastation pack in it, and I pulled a Armageddon Masterpiece, and that was my first masterpiece, and still is the only masterpiece I've ever opened. And it's about $20 or $30. If you don't know what Armageddon does, it's 3 colors and 1 white. Sorcery, destroys all lands. Incredibly toxic in Commander, and I did have it in my deck for a while, but I had never casted it though. So, and then a couple other things is my first card that I bought was Torch of Defiance, Chandra Torch of Defiance, for around I bought it for $22, I believe, and it was a Chandra Torch of Defiance. I believe that's on there, right? So it's 2 colors and 2 red for a Planeswalker, and it starts at 4 loyalty, and it says +1, exile a top card of your library, you may cast it. If you don't, it deals 2 damage to each opponent. It's Chandra Torch Defiance does 2 damage to each opponent. So it's basically like you can cast top card of the library or just deal some direct damage to your opponents. It has another +1, has 4 loyalty abilities, but the second +1 is add 2 red. So it's pretty good ramp for red at least. Ooh, excuse me. So it also has a -3, and it says Chandra Torch Defiance deals 4 damage to target creature, so it has removal as well. And then its -7 is you get an emblem with whenever you cast a spell, it deals 5 damage to any target. So you cast anything, it deals 5 damage to emblem, so it can't be removed from the game at all unless the player gets removed. Should I get into the decks now, I guess?
Well, okay, at the time, we can't move on. At the time, he was going to the game store because he wanted to buy another Chandra Power Genius because he had traded his to me because we had placed a high value on Planeswalkers. So anyway, he had asked me how much it cost because he didn't know how to use the websites yet to find the cost. And I said, a Chandra Power Genius costs about $3 because I think that's what it cost at the time.
It was a little more expensive.
And then he goes to the store, and then he was confused why this one was $30.
Yeah, so I wasn't that smart in Magic back then. So the story goes, I went to a local game store, and I asked the person at this counter, do you have any Chandra Planeswalkers? Me, thinking there's only one Chandra Planeswalker, they're like, oh yeah, we have a Chandra Torch Defiance, it's $30. I'm like, okay.
You still bought it, though.
So I bought it, and I had that thing for a while, and then I sold it for around, I think I sold it for like $25. So it was pretty expensive still. But to note, nowadays it runs around only $6, and it got printed a few times. Some other things is about myself is I'm not a huge fan of infinite combos. I have them in. Do I have any? I guess there's one in play. I have a Super Friends deck, and I guess there is an infinite combo in there. But I usually don't try to do infinite combos just because.
And Volo is combo-y.
Yeah, Volo, Guide to Monsters. I'll get to the decks in a little bit, just talking about the commanders, but it's not combo centric. I'm not trying to combo. If I do, I'll do it, but I usually don't. I don't look for the combos basically.
He accidentally combos because that's what Volo does.
If I'm playing against people and they have infinite combos, I'm not that big of a stickler on it, but I'd rather not, just because I feel like it just kind of ruins the game. Not ruins the game, but if you have a combo that has like 6 pieces, you go, bro. You can infinite as much as you want. That's a lot of cards to get out at once. So I'm gonna get into my decks. And then after that, I'll have Jacob talk about his history. But so first deck I ever had was the Dragon Precon, and I still have it today. It's way more powerful, way more expensive than it was before. My second deck that I made was, so we did a budget battle, and we had $5, right?
Yeah, we gave ourselves a $5 budget, excluding basic lands.
Yep, we didn't count basic lands, and we got to spend $5 on a deck, and we'd play against each other with it. I built Borborygmos. I said it right. Borgorgomagors. That's his name. And he's a
hefty, Alex. Hefty. You named the wrong card. It's Borborygmos.
Oh, that's right, because there's two. Borgomagors Enraged. Specifically that one, not the other one. I can't remember what the other one does. But this one is 4 colorless, 2 red, and 2 green. So it's 8 mana. It's pretty hefty. It's a 7/6 legendary creature, Cyclops. It has Trample. And it says, whenever it deals combat damage to a player, reveal the top 3 cards of your library. Put all land cards revealed this way into your hand and the rest in your graveyard. And then it says, discard a land card. Borgomagors Enraged deals 3 damage to target creature or player. So the idea of the deck was for me to... I had a lot of lands in that deck. There was like 60 lands in the deck. Like, it was a lot.
And some fog effects, too.
Yeah, and a lot of fog effects and a lot of... and like 60 lands. And they were all basic lands, basically.
Basic lands, basically.
So the whole thing was the deck was I discard a bunch of lands and deal a bunch of damage, because it wasn't a tap. The discarding lands is not a tap ability; it's just a ability. So if I can draw like a ton of cards and then just discard all of the lands, I deal a ton of damage. And the reason why I don't think it worked as good as I thought it would is A, it's 8 mana to play out, so it's a lot, and B, I thought that the ability could be commander damage. I thought I only needed to do it 7 times to win. But yeah, commander damage, if you didn't know, is only in combat. It is not just... It can't be just... It deals damage. So that's why that's the main reason why I built the deck, is because I could go pretty cheap because it was 60 basic lands.
Yeah.
The third deck I made...
Wait, let me talk about my deck that I built.
Oh, yeah.
For the budget
might as well, yeah.
So this kind of started a trend of me doing things wrong. So I started the budget battle with the idea of building a deck around Rith the Awakener. Which Rith the Awakener is a 6 mana 6/6 with flying that says whenever he deals combat damage to a player, you may pay 3. If you do, choose a color, then put a 1/1 green sapperling creature token onto the battlefield for each permanent of that color.
And it is Naya. It is a Naya commander.
Yeah, it's green, white, red, and 3 colorless. So the idea around the deck was, okay, I'll just make some tokens, because there's a bunch of cards that are like, 4 cents that make like 3 tokens, and I can just kind of go with that idea. I don't have a lot of the expensive finishers or anything, but it seems fun. So I built the deck going through and, putting in cards that did that, make tokens. But then I realized I was building it, it's like I put a lot of value on my commander. So I put in cards that gave him protection. So he would be unblockable, so I could get his combat damage trigger, and so I could protect him, because when you're in budget battles, usually probably tend to build around your commander more, so it's pretty important. So, and then also I had enough room at the end to put a copy of Sunforger in, and I thought that was a card that would do really good for tutoring. What Sunforger does? Yeah, I guess I can read that first. I didn't write it down. Okay, so in a sense, what Sunforger is I believe a 3 mana artifact that says, or 3 mana equipment that says, equipped creature gets +4/+0. And it has an equip 3, and then you can pay a red and a white and unattach it. You get to search your deck for a red or white instant with mana value 4 or less, and then you get to play it for free.
It's pretty powerful. I mean, if you're building a deck around it, it's fairly powerful.
It was like 30 cents, so it could fit in the budget really easily.
It's only 30 cents?
Yeah, it's only 30 cents. How do you think I fit it in the budget?
Well, I guess I didn't realize that. I thought it was more expensive.
So anyway, I put that in so I could have access to a lot of the cards.
Wait, how much is the... Because you got one of these, right?
I doubt it.
Or you had to have gotten this one. Commander 2016, because... Not that it matters, it's like the same price, but...
Yeah. So anyway, I put that in, and then also I'm like, oh, my guy likes to deal combat damage, so let's give him double strike, so I can get twice as many triggers. Well, anyway, what happened is... Well, he's already a 6/6, and if you give him double strike, he does 12 commander damage, and then protection makes him unblockable. So the deck kind of turned into Voltron almost, and it won most of its games by dealing 21 commander damage.
Yep. And you upgrade after we did the budget battle, you actually kept the deck, right?
I kept it. It's in a couple pieces at the moment, but it's in progress to be fixed correctly, because I'd like the deck to not be wrong this time, not have a token themed Voltron deck.
Yeah, it was pretty weird. Playing against it was interesting. Even
if you were to go to LGS and sit down with 3 people that
3 random people
haven't seen the deck before, they'd be kind of confused while you're swinging with lethal with your one creature in a token deck.
No, it was pretty funny.
It worked. It was fun. It was janky.
We were playing a game one time, and we were playing. It was three players, not 4, and I was playing my dragon deck, and dragons are mostly red. And so he played his commander, and then he had his commander out, and he swung, right? You just swung at me, I believe, right? And you gave it, and then you casted a protection spell to give it protection from red, so I couldn't block it. Now, if I would not have known what his deck was, I would have been like, okay, whatever, I take 6, okay? Because I'm not gonna counter his protection spell. Why would you ever counter a protection spell like that? It really doesn't make any sense. But I thought to myself, I better mana drain his. What was the? Do you remember what the protection spell was?
I think it might have been.
I think it was like 2 mana, right?
It was 2 mana. It was one that gave a +1/+1 counter. I think I don't remember exactly what it was, because I had Sunforger, so I cast this before I swung. So I equipped Sunforger, or unequipped it to get something that gave a double strike, gave it +1/+1, and then re-equipped Sunforger. So it was a 11/7 with double strike,
which would be lethal if it hit you. So knowing that his deck kind of does janky crap like that,
he did counter it.
I mana drained his protection spell. If I would not have done that, I would have lost the game right there. And knowing that, I was like, wow, okay.
So it was fun to do that wrong.
And you're gonna remake that deck at some point, right?
Like, yeah, that deck's gonna exist again. Just it's not gonna be Voltron.
It's gonna lean more into tokens, right? That's what you said. So anyway, so my next deck that I made was a Blink theme, and this deck, oh my gosh, this deck has went through so many changes. It was originally the Kaldheim Commander deck. I can't remember what it was called, but it was the Foretell theme, and it was Azorius, and its commander was a fort. I'm not going to get to what the commander was because I can't remember off the top of my head, but
dealt with some exiling stuff.
Yeah, it was exiling and foretelling, and it made stuff costless to foretell, and it wasn't very great.
You pretty much just bought the precon for that.
I didn't buy it actually. Cards. My dad gave it to me gave it to me as a gift. So
you basically stripped it of its parts and
and then I eventually turned, because it had a lot of decks, or it had a lot of cards in that deck that had to do with flickering and blinking. And if you don't know what blinking is, it's basically it exiles the permanent or creature, or the permanent, I guess, in creature in most cases, but sometimes permanent. And then it comes back, so it gets another ETB effect. So I took that and I reconfigured it to make it so it used Rune of the Hidden Realm, and I added green into it. And Rune of the Hidden Realm is a 2 colorless green, white, blue commander. It's a 4/4 with Vigilance and Trample. It's a legendary creature, Rhino Soldier. And it has 2 colorless tap. Exile target creature, return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. So you could use it to dodge nukes. You could use it to get an ETB effect on your end step. A bunch of different stuff. The deck wasn't that great. I mean, it was okay. But I wanted to change the commander, so I changed it to... Did I write the list or how many? But I changed it to Amarath the Lustrous. And it's a 3 colorless green, white, blue commander. It's a 6/6 legendary creature dragon with flying. And it says, whenever a permanent enters the battlefield under your control, look at the top card of your library. If it shares a card type with that permanent, you may reveal it and put it into your hand. So it's kind of like card advantage whenever something ETBs. And that synergizes with Blank by, I'm ETBing all the time, so it's going to trigger a lot. And then I changed it to Sakashima of 1,000 Faces, partnered with Saidar Kondo of Jamura. And Sakashima of 1,000 Faces is a 3 colorless blue commander. It's a 3/1 legendary creature, human rogue, and it's basically a clone effect, but it has it keeps its abilities, so it keeps the ability of the legend rule doesn't apply to permanents you control, and that's mainly so if you can copy like legendary creatures, and it won't sacrifice to the legendary rule. And Sidar, Condo of Jamura, which I only had in the partnered because it was green-white, and it has flanking. It's a 2 colorless green-white commander. It's a 2/5 with flanking, and flanking says whenever a creature without flanking blocks this creature, the block creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn. And then it says creatures your opponents control without flying or reach can't block creatures with power 2 or less. So it basically had unblockable, except for it basically had flying, but like
it's hard to block.
but I only had it in the deck for the green white. But I
ended up casting it a little,
quite a bit, because there was some major problems with the deck, and that's the reason why I took it apart. I'm not gonna get too crazy into it, but I changed the commander to that, and then I eventually ended up getting rid of the green and changing it to Brago, King Eternal, and
for about 1 day.
I did actually never even got the card. I just changed it. I just said I was going to change it, and then I just got rid of the deck. But it's 2 colorless, white, blue, Saurius. 2/4, legendary creature, Spirit Noble. And it has flying, and it says whenever it deals combat damage to a player, it blinks as many number of permanents as you want on your battlefield.
Non-land.
And so it's a CDH card. It's mainly used for stacks. I didn't plan on making it stacks. I planned on making it just blink. But I ended up not doing it, and I just took apart the deck and sold the cards that were in it. So I'm going to get to Volo. So one of my favorite decks, other than Dragons, is Volo Guide to Monsters. And he is a 2 colorless green-blue Simic commander. He's a 3/2, human legendary creature, human wizard. And he says, whenever you cast a creature spell that doesn't share a creature type with a creature you control or a creature card in your graveyard, copy it. So basically, all the creatures in the deck have different creature types, and they're basically like Simic good stuff, but I copy everything, and then I get a bunch of triggers, and I'm not going to get into it just because I'm sure we'll make a video on like a Volo deck at some point. But it's pretty fun. It's just like cast a big creature, it gets copied, and then I do a bunch of stuff. I also made a Changeling tribal deck. And basically, it used Sliver Overlord as its commander. It's 1 of every color to play. It's a 7/7 Sliver Mutant Legend. And it has 3 colorless. Search your library for a Sliver card. Reveal that card and put it in your hand, then shuffle your library. And then it says 3 colorless, gain control of target Sliver. And basically, I tutored for good Changelings, and they synergized well together. But it basically was Slivers, but using Changelings. And it wasn't that great. And I took it apart basically after I built it. And still not, I thought it would be a good idea, but And then, finally, like, a deck that I, like, actually use and have is, Super Friends, and it uses the Prismatic Bridge, or I guess it uses a Sika. Is that not on there?
You didn't put it on the list.
Oops. So a Sika, is I believe it's 2 colorless and 1 green, or no, it's 1 colorless and 2 green.
1 colorless, 2 green.
1 colorless and 2 green. And it's a legendary creature god. It's a 1/4 with vigilance, and it says tap, add 1 mana of any color, and then it says other legendary creatures you control get vigilance, and tap, add 1 mana of any color.
I didn't use that side.
I didn't use that side at all. I used the Prismatic Bridge side, and it's 1 of every color to play out. It's a legendary enchantment, and it says at the beginning of your upkeep, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature or planeswalker and put it on the battlefield, and then put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. And basically, I have a bunch of planeswalkers in the deck, not very many creatures, and then I get free cards off of Prismatic Bridge, and then I cast a lot of Wrath effects to blow up everyone's creatures.
And Humility.
Yeah, and Humility, which I just put in the deck, which is a little toxic. It's a 2 colorless, 2 white enchantment that says all creatures lose all abilities and are 1/1s, and basically it turns off every creature on the battlefield, and because I don't have very many creatures in the deck, it's pretty good. And then I have 2 other decks that I made, but weren't actually decks I made. I constructed them, but I never bought the cards for them. And it was Tatyova Extra Turns, which is... Tatyova is a 3 colorless, 1 blue, 1 green, 3/3 legendary creature, Morfolk Druid. And it says whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you gain a life and draw a card. And I drew a bunch of cards, played a bunch of lands, and then took a bunch of extra turns. And it was like near CEDH, and it wasn't that fun to play against or play with because it was very slow and very solitary. And then last but not least is Crick, Son of Yagmoth, and he is 4 colorless and 3 Phyrexian. He's a legendary creature.
Phyrexian black.
Phyrexian black. Yep. Legendary creature, horror minion. He's a 2/2, and he has lifelink. And it says, for each black in a cost, you may pay 2 life rather than pay that mana. And it says, whenever you cast a black spell, put a 1/1 counter on him. So basically, everything turns into Phyrexian mana to play, all your black stuff. So I pay a bunch of life to cast cards, and I cast like Doomsday, and then I combo out and win the game. And I was really close to building that deck, but then I didn't because it was really expensive, and I wouldn't play it very often because no one wants to play against that. You win turn 3. Like, sure, it's CEDH, but I don't play with CEDH. Like, we don't play CEDH, we play casual. Because it's just not fun. But so that's basically my history. Went kind of long, which I'm not a huge fan of, but Oops.
Okay. Well.
So, I guess I'm going to save the Battlebond thing until you're done, because I think we should talk about that last, because that was a big thing.
Okay.
So, I guess, Jacob, take it away.
Okay, so, like Alex, I started back in 7th grade, and we did the half-deck thing, and started in Kaladesh. So, I had, the first day of that game club was a Tuesday, and then the next day we had actually went up to the local Walmart and bought a pack of Magic cards, because that sounded fun. And I actually pulled a Saheeli Ray from that, which was a Planeswalker, which was a 3-mana, 1 colorless, 1 blue, 1 red. Starts at 3, has +1, scry 1, and then deal damage to each opponent. -2, create a token that's a copy of target artifact or creature you control, except it's an artifact in addition to its other types. And then it gains haste, and you have to sack it at the beginning of the end step. So that's pretty powerful, and that's actually what it was used for in combination with another card to go infinite until...
Some of the more experienced Commander players probably know what that is.
Yes. And then it has -7, search library for up to 3 artifact cards with different names, and put them onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. So for me, it was obviously a really fun card to pull, because I didn't even know what a Planeswalker was at this time.
And Planeswalkers was like godly to us back then.
Yeah, we thought they were really overpowered. And for the people we played with, they pretty much were, because once they got around, they were like enchantments. No one had removal, and they couldn't swing. So the Planeswalker stayed around for a while. And this is actually back when it was the Planeswalker rule and not just the Legendary rule.
I forgot about that.
So, I mean, that didn't matter with Saheeli, but...
No.
It was kind of weird for us to learn how it worked. I was actually even told by someone at the start that it was a creature and with power and toughness equal to its loyalty. It obviously I know it's not that now, and I learned that day next time I went to the school because I'd asked the teacher about it. But
and he was an experienced Magic player.
He's played Magic. He doesn't play much Commander or competitive
He's just getting
stuff.
into it basically. Now
he has a lot of tribal decks. He has like 80 tribal decks. It's a lot. So anyway, I got the first green-red deck that we had talked about, and I always liked Gruul because it was fun. Felt, got to play a lot of lands and play some big stuff. Shivan Dragon. Got to do some dumb stuff. And then the second deck I actually got another one of those welcome decks for Christmas. This one was also green-red, but I changed it then because it was random. You didn't get to pick for that. But I eventually changed it to be green-white, and I centered it around a 2-card, not even a combo, just a synergy. Did I not put it in? Okay, I didn't put it in, but the 2 cards that I like to use was Gear Shift Ace, which was a 2/1 2/1 dwarf with first strike for a colorless and a white, and it has whenever it crews a vehicle, that vehicle gains first strike until end of turn. And then I coupled that with Oval Chase Dragster, which is a 4-mana vehicle with trample and haste. It's a 6/1, has crew 1. So I guess the idea was if I got both, I could have a 6/1 trample haste first strike. And I mean, that's synergy. No, but it worked.
It's just funny that your whole deck was based around that.
Okay, I say based. Well, it's like I had that synergy in it, but then I had a lot of mana dorks and other stuff in it to just kind of play the game. And then I've made a lot of 60-card decks before playing Commander. They were all pretty fun. First one I built was a 1/1 counter theme deck. It was green-white. It was pretty fun, but it was pretty slow. And then I had built a squirrel deck because I thought squirrels were fun. So I built this, and the idea was it goes infinite with Maze of Ith, Argothian Elder, and Squirrel's Nest. Maze of Ith says tap, untap target attacking creature. Argothian Elder says tap on tap 2 lands, and Squirrel's Nest says enchanted land gets to tap to make a squirrel. So you just make infinite squirrels and then win. And I actually built it. It made a lot of sense. I had a lot of tutors in it to tutor for my combo pieces, and then I had cards like Harmonize to draw more cards.
Oh. And token players, his squirrel deck did not use Crater of Behemoth to win. That's all I'm saying.
Are you saying like people shouldn't use Crater of Behemoth?
I'm just saying it's kind of overused.
I mean,
I feel like a lot of people use it.
Well, if you're going infinite, it doesn't matter. Put some other cards in there. One of them was, what is it called? Forgot. It's Ornreef the Vastwood. That's what it's called. And it's a land that enters tap and has tap, put a 1/1 counter on each green creature that entered the battlefield this turn. So the idea being that I can make infinite squirrels with infinite power.
It's over 9,000!
They were very large squirrels when I got that off. It was a fun deck to build. It was built around the infinite combo. I didn't use it a whole lot because I felt a little toxic against the people that I was playing against, because
to be fair, a lot of people were asking to play against it.
A lot of people would ask, like, hey, can I play against this? I don't know why. They kept asking. That deck could beat like 4 people at once. But they keep trying. Speaking of that, I built an infinite elf deck, which was built around Presence of Gond, which is an enchantment that says enchanted creature gains tap, create a 1/1 elf warrior. And then Midnight Guard, which is whenever a creature enters the battlefield, untap it. So it's a creature. So that's infinite. I built that deck mostly because I built the entire deck for like $8. So that was like to prove a point to someone that you could build a good deck that isn't expensive. I mean, for $8, I built a deck that
was pretty good.
It pretty consistently comboed out like turn 4 to make infinite 1/1s. It was again 60 card tabletop, so it was a lot easier. I had
people weren't trying to win like really fast. It was just tabletop. But yeah.
So I had copies of Heliod's Pilgrim to search for, or what is it? Is it Heliod's Pilgrim? Am I right about that card?
Which one?
The one that tutors for an aura.
Ooh, I'm not
I think it might be Heliod's Pilgrim. Otherwise, it doesn't really matter. Otherwise, it doesn't really matter. Basically, the deck just tutored to win. And then I had a lot of other decks. I got the 2 dual decks, Speed versus Cunning, and those decks were really fun to have because they were all different from what I'd normally done. Because
also probably a lot better than like some of the pre-builts that we played before.
I don't know. All the pre-cons were pretty similar, but the Speed versus Cunning, they're all 3 colors, a 3-color deck that was aiming to be fast. That's interesting for 60 card, but it was fun. I got to swing with stuff, and it was a fun deck to play overall. And then Cunning was different from everything I'd done because it was like a slow control type thing, drawing of cards, which was a lot different from everything else I had done because everything else was green at this point. And I built a few tribal decks, like a wolf deck, merfolk deck, dinosaurs, and hydras. All of those were pretty fun to play, and all of them were green. But then I made 2 decks later that were based around like more strategies. I built a deck using the keyword Exalted, which is probably not a very popular ability, but it says whenever a creature you control attacks alone, it gets +1/+1. So if you have 4 creatures with Exalted, whenever you swing with a creature, it gets big. CD of the deck was just to play a bunch of things and swing and win. Then more recently, I built a energy counter theme deck, which every card in the deck makes energy counters or uses energy counters in some way, and it gets a lot of value. It's pretty good overall. But anyway, so when I got into Commander, then after this, because when he started playing Commander, I got back into it. But I had built a Olivia Voldaren deck, which was pretty much a pile of cards. It had a bunch of like vanilla 1/4s that didn't do anything else, that just were there to have a creature. But the other people I was playing against were not that good at the game either yet, so they had a General Tazri ally tribal deck.
Who's that?
It was Ryan Peterson.
Ryan.
So it
was that Commander?
That was a Commander deck, yeah. So anyway, he had that. It didn't. We were still new to the game, so it wasn't that bad. But if I got my vampire out and just started stealing all of his things, there wasn't much he could do.
And when you're playing like when
removal's non-existent.
When you played against me, like dragons, like You steal one of my dragons, that's like, oh, man.
That's before we had removal in our decks.
Yeah, that's true. I still don't really run that much removal, but
yeah, who needs removal when you can just try and win?
Just win.
So anyway, and then when I got back in, I built a Corvold deck, which is much different than probably any Corvold deck anyone's ever faced, because it was pretty jank. It wasn't that good. The only thing notable about it is I always had 20 cards in my hand.
You drew so many cards with that deck.
But the thing is, the deck couldn't win. I could draw all the cards, but I couldn't win. I had some cards. There was one called Spine of Ishsaw, which was a 7-mana artifact that said when it enters the battlefield, destroy it permanent.
Oh my God.
And then when it leaves the battlefield, put it back to your hand. So every turn, like, I would just draw a card, play Spine of Ishsaw, blow up something, swing with Corvold, sacrifice Spine of Ishsaw, draw another card. And it didn't do much.
In 1v1, that's like you lose the game, the other player loses, because you're destroying multiple things.
Well, yeah, because he had dragons at this point, so he wasn't playing more than one creature a turn.
No.
So, and if he ever didn't play a creature, I guess I had to blow up one of his lands. Oof. So, I only did that once, and then I kind of quit playing that deck, and I built a Riku of 2 Reflections deck, which it didn't turn out as good as I wanted it to. This was before Volo came out, so it was pretty much just a Creatures Matter deck. And Riku is a 2/2 for 5, green, blue, red. And it says whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, you may pay blue and a red. If you do copy that spell, you may choose new targets for the copy. And whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may play green, blue. If you do, create a token that's a copy of it. So the plan was to just play some teamer good stuff. Kind of like Volo.
It is notable, though, that it is when it enters the battlefield and not when it's cast.
Yeah. Also, it can always do that versus Volo.
Right.
Is only.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I built that. It didn't turn out that good, mostly because the commander himself was 5 mana, and just the way the games played out, the deck couldn't ramp to that fast enough or ever afford to spend a turn casting it. So the deck overall, I ended up not fixing it because I didn't really want to keep going down the creature-based route because it wasn't that fun for me overall. And then eventually I got the Rith deck that I'd previously mentioned, which I had upgraded, put some cards in. What we'll talk about later is during one of the drafts, I won a Battlebond doubling season. So I put that in. I made some tokens. I didn't use it a whole lot for anything, but it was fun. What lasted.
Tardy stacks.
Okay, so then the deck I built after Rith. This is what I built over the summer and decided, this looks fun. So I built a Horde of Notions Elemental Tribal deck, which Horde of Notions, if you don't know, is a 5/5 for 5, one of each color, God. With Vigilance, Trample, and Haste.
Oh, that's a lot of abilities.
And it has white, blue, black, red, green. You may play target elemental card from your graveyard without paying its mana cost. So, elementals, I don't know if you've ever faced against anyone who has an elemental deck, but elementals kind of struggle to win if they don't intend to go infinite and combo out, just because they're slower than a token theme deck and they kind of want to go wide too. So, and if I didn't want to use infinite combos because I knew he didn't like it and a lot of other people don't like losing to infinite combos, it's like, okay, I didn't think it would matter that much. Well, anyway, what happened is it kind of became like a stacks deck, which it's weird to say, but pretty much the deck couldn't win. I could just make everyone lose.
Yeah, it was.
So, well, there's a lot of elementals that say like destroy target creature when they enter the battlefield. Like there's Solitude, which exiles a creature, which I had bought a Solitude actually when I was down in Tennessee one day over vacation, and I got it for got the extended art one for $30.
Which, if you don't know now, it's around $60-$70.
So that was a good buy. That was one of my few good buys. But built that, had Solitude in it. Oh, and one of my favorite cards, Crib Swap, which was castable with Horde of Notions.
Oh yeah, you'd get into a lock.
Yep. So Crib Swap is a 2 colorless, 1 white instant. It's a tribal instant with Shapeshifter. So it also has Changeling.
So it's an elemental.
So it is an elemental, and I can cast it with Horde of Notions. So basically the deck would just be built around exiling stuff until you won. It wasn't that good. Pretty much the games it lost, it would either win by swinging and killing everyone with Horde of Notions before anyone did anything, or because I had Rubble Hulk in the deck. Rubble Hulk has
that was a funny card.
The creature itself doesn't matter, but it has colorless, red and green. Discard it to give creature +X/+X, where X the number of lands. So if I had like 8 lands, it did a lot of damage. Then I guess it wasn't that good of a deck. It either won by doing that or won by killing every threat you could ever have and sending it to exile. It wasn't an amazing deck. That was pretty slow and toxic. So I kept that deck for a while, but then I recently built an Intet the Dreamer deck, which I have a few cards I need to order for it right now. But Intet, if you don't know, is in the same cycle as Rith the Awakener, guy who is part of the token deck. And Intet says it's a 6 mana for a 6/6 with flying, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you may play 2 colorless and a blue. If you do exile the top card of your library, you may cast that card for as long as it remains exiled and play it without paying its mana cost for as long as Intet remains on the battlefield. So the idea, I guess, is just manipulating the top of your deck and casting some big spells. It has a dragon sub-theme, pretty much, so every creature is a dragon. So make dragon swing, do that, cast some extra turn spells. It's fun. It works pretty well. But I guess that's all I have to say about that.
So, out of all your decks, what do you think was the best deck that you have? Like had ever made? Like, for you can just specify commander. Like just commander. Out of all your decks that you made, which one do you think is the best?
Intet the Dreamer was probably the best, but Rith was the most fun because it was...
So Rith was like your favorite?
Yeah, it was fun to just win out of nowhere doing the wrong thing.
For me, I would say, do you think Volo is better than dragons?
Probably.
So I have Volo Guide to Monsters. I think that's probably the best deck. But my favorite is dragons.
So do you want to talk about the Battlebond thing?
Yeah. So okay. This is a fun one. So if you do you want to just...
I guess I'll start us off about it. So in the summer of, it must have been would have been for our freshman year, I think, because we didn't have it sophomore year because of COVID.
Well, it was it would have been before. So
it would have been freshman year. So freshman year summer, we had a draft, and it was around Battlebond.
And the draft was a two-headed giant 2v2.
Am I right? Was it freshman year? Freshman year summer?
It's either freshman year or 8th grade.
Okay, either way. We played Battlebond, and so Battlebond, I don't know if it was standard to have people do a 2v2 draft.
The whole set was made around doing it a 2v2 draft, yeah.
Yeah, so we did the Battlebond draft, and that's actually where I got my doubling season that I had previously mentioned. But it was so Alex and I joined up, and we were playing against a bunch of other people who, a lot of them were older than us, so they had a little bit more experience playing Magic, and they had, one of them had a turn 2 Emrakul deck that he...
Jacob Unlocker.
Yeah, he the other Jacob that we don't talk about built a deck basically casting Channel into Emrakul and just winning. Because
this was not Commander.
This was not Commander, because obviously Channel and Emrakul are banned in Commander.
Battlebond, by the way, was a very good set for Commander.
It was a very good set.
Even though it wasn't made for Commander.
So anyway, we joined up, and we played, was it 3 games, right?
It was either 3 or 4.
3 or 4. Anyway, we won either 2 or 3 of them without much difficulty, because we had a pretty good deck.
Yeah.
But anyway, going into the final match of the day, we were against the people that would be the best.
Jacob and Drake.
And one of them had a, I don't know, blue-black maybe, and then the other one had a green-red deck that they built. And the deck we had was, I had a white-blue control type thing, and then he had a green-red
Gruul, Stompy kind of thing.
So our plan of attack was I would basically kind of make it so they couldn't win, and then he would just eventually win.
But
so in the final match, he took like 4 mulligans.
Oh yeah, I took so many mulligans
because he couldn't get any lands. So anyway, it was just playing. And
I was not drawing any lands.
So I'm doing my best to try and stop from losing. And we had one thing we had pulled from the packs was a Will and Rowan.
Yeah, Will Kenrith and Rowan Kenrith, and the original printing was from Battlebond, and I'm not going to get into what they are, but they'll be on screen. Will's main thing was that he could turn
something into a 0/3.
0/3 until end of turn, and then Rowan's what was her? She
made 2 attack.
Yeah,
and then she could deal 3 to each.
She dealt 3 to each to make it so Will made everything a 0/2, and then Rowan would kill everything basically.
Did Will make them 0/2s or 0/3s?
I think they were 0/3s.
Okay, so then Rowan did 3 damage.
They'll be on screen, so you'll be able to see them. But so that was, we were excited about that because that was going to be our main game plan.
So anyway, I drew Will, and he had saved us pretty much by just stalling us for as long as we can. We're still losing at this point, but anyway, they cast a card called Apocalypse Hydra, which this was...
I forgot about this.
This was before the ruling change, which made X spells have a mana cost of what you pay for them and not what it is minus the X.
Yeah.
So Apocalypse Hydra is a red-green X Hydra with enters the battlefield with X/1/1 counters, and then if it's X is 5 or more,
it doubles them.
It doubles.
Yeah.
So, and then it has like red and colorless to remove a counter to deal a damage. So Will couldn't save us from that because it had 1/1 counters. So anyway, as they're doing it, I realized I had a Spell Pierce, right? Spell Pierce.
I think that's what it was. Yep.
So Spell Pierce saved us that game, and then eventually he finally drew lands, and he eventually won the game by sacrificing lands to Goblin Raise Runners.
Which was funny because I wasn't drawing lands the whole game.
So one time he's not drawn lands, and I have drawn lands.
But to note, though, the thing that saved us that game was the Spell Pierce or whatever.
Spell Pierce and
won
Will.
us that game because we would have lost the game that turn. Yeah, and Will.
But, well, not that turn, but
I mean the turn after. Yeah. But so what's interesting though is that to me that game or that draft that we played was like huge. Like that brought me into like where like I'm getting a lot better at the game because like that just was like a turning point where like we're actually like pretty decent at the game. Now I feel like we're just like there. Like we're just. I mean we know our stuff, but I mess up rules a lot though. So and I forget triggers and I make a lot of mistakes. But...
And he has decks that make his head hurt.
Yeah,
and it's kind of fun to watch.
Yeah, it's pretty funny watching me play. And if we ever do a Coalition Clash episode, I'm sure I'll be like, am I missing anything?
Unless he does a lot of editing to remove the dead space, which probably won't happen, but it might. We'll see.
Probably.
We'll see where we are. But...
So, yeah, is there anything else you wanted to say about your...
I think we hit everything.
All right, so I think that's about it for our outline video. I'm not sure how long we've been going, probably 45 minutes.
Probably longer than that.
Hour, 45 minutes, whatever. But so basically, if you see this video,
thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. And if you want to share it with anybody you know for playing Magic the Gathering, we're going to be doing a lot of stuff in the future for like gameplay and stuff. So hopefully we can pump out some content with that. Also, like, we're going to do, like, on Spotify, we're going to have this podcast should be on Spotify, so you can listen to it if you're at work or if you're, like, at school. I guess if you're at school, if you're at downtime or something. Whenever you want to listen to it, you can listen to it in the car, whatever. Here are our voices.
Yes, our reassuring voices.
So, yeah, we're going to be doing hopefully a lot of good content in the future, and... I suppose that's probably around about it, huh?
Yeah, well, have a good day.
Yeah.
And